of everything. That's cool. Anyway, so there's a lot of things that happen throughout the week. Lily, is there anything that you want to start with?
Yeah, I don't know. Did you come across a video online of a 2-year-old toddler in China that was walking, like she got lost from her parents and was walking and she got ran over by a van? And she was run over, she was just laying there, and 18 people passed by her, did not stop to help her, to aid to her. So she's just lying there, and while she's just lying there, over 18 people pass by, and then another car comes by, runs her over a second time. Damn. And so now this child is pretty much brain dead. She's in a coma and pretty much brain dead. So the life of this young child most likely will be lost. And it's just crazy because all these people could have helped, could have come to her aid. If someone had helped her sooner, maybe it would have been a different story. And so what's going on now in China is that people are like, well, where's this human touch of like helping people?
So they're starting to like bring up all of these issues that have come up after this incident has happened.
Yeah.
Have you heard some of the reactions from
the Chinese? Chinese people have had a really big reaction towards it. There was a media campaign going on with their form of Twitter, and it has gotten millions of responses. And it's kind of like a moment of self-reflection in China, because the Chinese themselves are saying, we've invested so much in our economic growth, and we've kind of like forgotten about people and being human touch and helping one another. The way that China works, a lot of people are saying like, well, if someone had stopped to help, a lot of times those who want to be a good Samaritan it's like frowned upon in China. It's not encouraged, because a lot of times if you go and help that person, later on you will get billed for having. So you're helping them, then you must have done it. Also, now you're responsible for their health care.
So that's what they're saying, that some of them might have not
so
done
it's
it, not help, because
they're saying that it's in their culture to not help. That they're not encouraged to be, very like good Samaritans, or very, very brotherly, or wanting to help each other out. Who said that though? Within the Twitter like responses.
Really, that's China. What they said. Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. I don't know. I'm really not familiar if that's an aspect of Chinese culture.
I don't think so either. I think that's the twist.
Where's the human nature? It kind of that type of statement kind of leaves no room for our nature of being social beings and helping each other out in this type of situations. I mean, are you gonna tell me that every time we see a touching scene on a movies or something, we don't react compassionate towards that? I mean, isn't that naturally comes out of us? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't know what to think about in terms of that being part of the Chinese culture, not to give a fuck about a 2-year-old being
exactly. It was just kind of like very shocking to see. But how you're saying, like, it's not to say that because of this, you automatically label Chinese or the Chinese culture in a certain way. This is just like the criticism that is taking place. But looking beyond that, I was doing more research on why would someone just kind of like walk away. And so this type of situation has been seen plenty of times, not just in China but all around the world, in New York City, everywhere, which is called the bystander effect. So a lot of times, people see a violent crime and they assume that someone else is going to help, or they don't want to interfere and come in. So this happens several times where someone is in need of help. And
a lot of times actually, people just
walk by.
I remember one news that came out about a homeless guy that was dying right here in the United States, too. That was dying, and that got stabbed, and I believe he was in New York City. And no one approached him, and nobody volunteered to help him.
Yeah.
So no, I don't agree with the fact that it's a cultural thing in the Chinese culture that you see a 2-year-old on the floor. I think it was just people who it just happens that the people that were walking by at that moment, were people who just did not. I mean, I don't want to vilify him, but did not give a fuck about, trying to see what's wrong with the child. Now, I don't think these people knew that the child was like that injured. Was it blood visible?
It was. Well, I saw the video and it looked pretty bad. Like the child is in the middle of the road, and the child is ran over,
and people can see.
Literally walk right next to the child, like right next to the child.
Damn, yeah, that's some fucked up shit.
Yeah, and
I don't know.
so
it's kind of hard. I'm not gonna judge a whole culture. That's the only thing I'm
no,
gonna
exactly.
say.
I wouldn't say that. I think it's more just like just reading about the bystander effect. I believe it's more of like a psychological effect and not so much cultural. Because I was watching different experiments that were put together to kind of prove the bystander effect, and people in New York City, they like a woman pretend to be agonizing, and it took like an hour before someone ever came to her aid. And there's several stories of people who have been victims of a violent crime or situation, and no one comes to their aid, and they end up dying. But the thing is, within those different experiments, if someone was well dressed, they were more likely to get help, as opposed to if someone looked like they were homeless or begging for food or money, no one would come to their aid. And this child, it was like it's kind of like an alley, and so
it seemed like a poor child.
Yeah, and it ended up being a woman who was picking up garbage. She was a scavenger. She was picking up garbage. Who eventually came to her aid.
Oh, you see, that's a big lesson for people, man. The people that tend to be the poorest are the people who, as much as they want to demonize us and call us like, you know how, especially now with all the protests that are going right here in the United States of the 99% and all the people who are low income. And the 1%, or the people who are wealthy or who serve people who are the 1%, always try to vilify us. As much as they want to vilify us and make us look like shit, we are the people who are truly at the end of the day care for each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were the most honest and the most caring for each other.
I think you have more of that connection build because you rely on each other more. You rely on your family and your friends.
I'm assuming this happened in a very metropolitan, very in a city, urban
I think
area,
it was a
right?
pretty urban area.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense in urban areas, because I'm pretty sure that if you go to the rural parts of China, this shit wouldn't fly. You know? And I think it all depends on the society too. Like, that shit wouldn't fly in Frisco.
This happened this experiment took place in New York, and there was several instances where it really did happen in New York. And I'm not comparing completely San Francisco to New York, but they're both.
That's the thing, that we're both very different though. As much as we both urban populated areas, I think that the Bay Area mentality is notoriously known for. You see, it depends on the area too. I think it depends on the area.
Because I think it would. I mean, it might take less of time for it to happen, but I think that it would happen pretty much all across the board.
I feel that it depends on the area. I think if you go to the financial district in San Francisco, it will probably take a long time for somebody to get aid.
I mean to tell you, like, you mean to tell me that you live in the Tenderloin, right? So you've never seen a guy that's like passed out on the floor and just pass by him. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I definitely seen people and haven't done anything, because most of the time they're passed out because they're fucking drunk on drugs.
But are you certain of that, or even if they're drunk and passed out of drugs, are they not in need of help?
Yeah, but how realistic it is to walk by San Francisco
and so again
and not walk by somebody who's passed out because of drugs and he's not gonna die.
Yeah, but again,
you know
the underlying thing there is they're fitting an image where you're saying, okay, they're alcoholic and they're doing this, and therefore I shouldn't help them. But if you saw that same thing and it's a man wearing a suit and he's passed out, then you'd probably be more likely to approach them.
I'll probably make the same assumption, but I don't think it is the same way. I don't think the comparison, to be honest with you, is that fair, because you brought up the situation of a woman agonizing. If I see a woman or a homeless person agonizing, clearly agonizing, I would approach and tell them, hey, are you okay? Yeah. And I think a lot like that. I mean, what's wrong? I mean, that kind of sounds like a kung fu fighter or something. But like, if I see that happening, I would approach him, trying to ask him, if they're okay. That's a completely different situation. Yeah. With walking by San Francisco, which has one of the highest populations of homeless, and who's within the homeless population.
There's a lot.
I don't want to throw a number right there that is not based on study, but based on assumption, I would say that at least 90% of the homeless people are addicted to some type of drug. You know what I mean? And when you see them thrown out on the street, just like when you walk by a Mission, you see people who are either drunk. If it's a Mission, it's drunk. And if it's like the Tenderloin, it's heroin or some other type of drug that they're passed out on. And they're not going to, they're not going to die. You know what I mean? Would they die of overdoses? I mean, at least, I don't know. Like, when does that happen? When are you aware of that? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
You walk by the Tenderloin, and every block there's somebody lying on the floor who's passed out. So
yeah. But for me, it was just more like crazy to think that a lot of times people are in really like in need of help, and a lot of times people don't want to get involved. They don't want to, like, you know, they're either fearful for themselves or afraid of how something might come back to them. And a lot of times people, I feel like it is very true. People just walk by.
Or it's very selfish, or they're thinking about where they gotta go next, and I don't have the time for this. I think a